If you look at the raw feed of global information, you are looking at a massive, chaotic stream of mixed data. You have strong facts, early hints, contradictions, noise, and outright falsehoods all flowing together. Frontier AI labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google train their large language models directly on this mixture. They ingest enormous corpora containing both the true and the false. For professionals building scientific AI, this creates a profound anxiety. The natural intuition is to protect the discovery system by engineering a rigid filter at the front door, a mechanism designed to ingest only certified, perfectly correct information. But when that raw, mixed stream hits that rigid filter, the system clogs and breaks. By demanding absolute certainty up front, the filter halts the flow of information entirely. Perfect truth filtering at the point of ingestion is an impossible design goal. It assumes that right and wrong are neatly sorted before discovery even begins. Frontier models do not achieve truthfulness by reading a pristine database. They become useful because they learn broad patterns from massive datasets and then rely on heavy post-training architecture to govern how those patterns are used. Discovery intelligence relies on this architecture of governance to produce reliable results from a fundamentally mixed information environment. Base models absorb chaotic pre-training data, acquiring language fluency, but factuality isn't automatic. Labs apply governing mechanisms. Filtering removes extreme noise. Instruction tuning shapes helpful outputs. Alignment frameworks, like Anthropic's constitutional AI, push towards honest norms, and Google's facts framework anchors outputs dynamically. Despite this heavy, multi-layered stack, hallucination and overconfidence remain persistent vulnerabilities across every major lab. Usefulness is completely dependent on this post-training architecture. The concept of a pure, truthful data ingestion pipeline is a myth, which means we have to completely rethink how we feed specialized intelligence systems. This exact problem becomes incredibly acute when transitioning from general language models into the high-stakes, rigorous environment of scientific discovery. In active research, evidence isn't pre-divided into absolute truths or falsehoods. A claim arrives flickering between valid and invalid. A finding might be correct under one assay, but wrong under another. Correctness is context-dependent, relying entirely on provenance, chronology, and review posture. If a system is designed to reject any data that lacks complete, settled certainty, it becomes blind to novelty. Discovery requires preserving early hints, noisy contradictory data, and weak minority signals that might form a breakthrough. Binary truth filtering builds a brittle system, incapable of reasoning under uncertainty. Discovery intelligence builds an architecture of graded trust, preserving uncertainty while ensuring weak information cannot gain broad influence. Every piece of uploaded evidence defaults to the outermost layer, local-only evidence. A researcher can upload an unverified paper for their own local work. The weak signal is useful locally without altering the organization's broader knowledge. However, to move inward to Layer 2, review candidacy, the data must pass the first boundary gate. Passing this gate requires explicitly defined metadata. The system checks the source class, support quality, and provenance confidence of the evidence before it is even considered for review. This tiered containment stops epistemic collapse. Uncertainty is allowed to exist, but its unverified spread is strictly halted. This enforces the anti-volume principle. Thousands of identical weak claims carry zero weight, but one meticulously traced particle can force promotion. Moving to Layer 3, governed trust requires surviving aggressive contradiction checks. Once verified, it enters Layer 4, broader carryover, permitted to influence the broader systemic state. Finally, in Layer 5, the future learning candidate, stable evidence earns the right to update the core model itself. Systemic influence is a hard-earned privilege. By enforcing governance across distinct layers, the brittle binary input filter is replaced entirely. This entire 5-layer architecture creates an environment where evidence is continuously represented, graded, and reviewed before it is trusted. However, internal algorithms and logical governance rules do not produce absolute truth on their own. True scientific discovery demands reality contact. The system must remain constantly exposed to external measurement, physical experimentation, and independent replication. When real-world tests contradict a strong hypothesis, the architecture relies on strict downgrade paths. Failed hypotheses are forcefully demoted, losing their systemic influence immediately. Simultaneously, when an early, weak signal is validated by physical reality, dynamic promotion activates, pulling that newly verified evidence inward through the gates. The doctrine of discovery intelligence is clear: preserve uncertainty, maintain fast downgrade paths, and demand rigorous review before granting influence. And critically, a user's local upload must survive and remain useful to them, even if it is denied broader influence across the network. We must stop trying to build impossible truth ingestion machines that attempt to sort right from wrong before the data even enters the system. Replacing binary filters with graded trust creates a system capable of managing the inherent contradictions and uncertainty of the discovery process.